Excited to be joined by some of the experts in the React and React Native communities. I figured we would start this interview by having you introduce yourself, tell us what it is that you do, and give us a little idea of what drew you into the React community. So Gio, let's start with you.
Yeah, thank you, Emerson. I'm developer advocate at Amazon, and that means that helping developers integrate our services with our SDKs, developing apps for our devices. And React Native is one of, I would say, personally, it's one of the best ways to develop for TV. I love React Native because you can actually develop the app across all the different OSs for TV.
It's a great promise, great goal.
Thanks.
Anisha, how about you?
Yeah, so same as Gio, I'm a developer advocate at Amazon. So I actually used to be a React developer, spent my first 4 years as a web developer, and it was at a consultancy. And I think like one of the biggest selling points for React Native as a consultancy was that you build once and you're running it on Android and iOS. We used to actually go to companies and like position React Native to the native teams, which never went down very well, as like an option for, obviously building for scale. And I ended up at Amazon also working on Fire OS, which for tablet, you can use React Native to build the Android apps that run on Fire OS, and obviously same for TV.
And Lucas.
I'm Łukasz. I'm an engineering manager at Callstack, but that's my recent promotion. Before that, I was a team leader for a TV project running React Native, actually. And when I started doing React Native, it was years ago. I was an junior Android developer as well. I did a few of smaller tasks in Android ecosystem, but then the software house that I worked for had few small React Native projects starting with version 044 or something like that. And there was no really a lot of expertise back then in React Native. What I love most about this is that this is a very vibrant community.
Yeah.
And you can learn things from JavaScript word, TypeScript word, REST script even, Java, Kotlin, iOS, C++. All of that is embedded in our React Native ecosystem. So you can either be really deep in the native world, or you can be a real React expert, and there's a place for you in that React and React Native universe ecosystem. And TV is one of those niches when you really have to have all of that background knowledge and then some, and then learn this whole new platform and platforms. Yeah, so if you consider tablet app or web app or phone app, you can touch anywhere.
Yeah.
And if nothing happens, nothing happens. But then if nothing happens when you press a remote, something is broken.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
extremely frustrating.
Yeah.
Think about where your app is running, right? If you've got a mobile app, it's running on basically a mini supercomputer. Fire Sticks, for example, have 1 gig of RAM. Your app is not going to run as fast as it does on mobile. And the performance considerations are massive. You have, first of all, yes, a lower end device, but you also have a range of devices. If your app isn't performing well on one device, you might not know unless you're testing on all those devices. And it's not like you're going to be testing on 50 devices. So I think that's probably one of the biggest things you have to consider is what's the performance of your app on each device that it's running on.
And I think that performance considerations are even amplified with this focus engine with this different interaction method. Because when you tap on your small device and button doesn't respond to your tap, you don't feel frustrated. Maybe this is a broken user experience, but you don't feel frustrated. When you tap on your remote and then you wait 2 seconds for the focus border to go from one element to another, it is noticeable much more than on the smaller devices. So adding those two considerations, different interaction management and low-end devices, broad range of categories of devices, this amplifies.
And Anisha, you said earlier that you're not going to be testing on 50 different TVs. And really it's probably 500 or 5,000 different variations that make up the majority of what people are using. But you need to test on a lot of them. You need to test on at least some of them. How do you think about, either from a manual or an automated perspective,
really good point.
ensuring high user experience across that that set of like most meaningful or highest coverage type of devices.
Yeah, and I mean that's where your testing strategy is like really, really important. So I think like we said you have to pick the lowest common denominator, almost in a way. Pick your lower end device, pick one in each range, and make sure like you're automating as much as you can. Shift your tests left so that more are running locally and you're having to do less like manual testing on the devices. Making sure that you also have your tests like abstracted away. So for example, you're not going to be writing a test like, hey, does this button click up on iOS, Android, Fire TV, tvOS, I don't know what else, right? You want to abstract that logic away, write your test, does it go up, but have the abstraction of what does up mean, abstracted for each different platform. And I think when you do that, everything's a little bit more manageable.
And do you think there is still a big need for doing that manual testing as well as the automated testing? Like you can automate some on-device testing as well, but is it a critical component to still have at the end of the day some people with the end user devices actually going through and interacting to make sure it really works for?
Definitely. It's important that the manual testing is not just this one phase of manual QAing. It's like the whole product life cycle when you actually use the product yourself.
And I think one really important thing, and probably what we don't do enough, is accessibility testing. And there's not that many tools out there for accessibility testing on TV. But I think like, I don't know, close your eyes and navigate with your remote. Does it work? Then you're probably like not going to be breaking it on an obscure device in an obscure country somewhere.
The advent of conversational AI and the advancements of the last several years have driven like a significant increase in people using natural language to control all of their smart devices that they might have. How do you see that evolving, not just the way that consumers are interacting with devices, but then the way that we as developers need to plan and build apps to support that kind of capability? So we've got time for one last question. So if we look to the future, let's say the next year, what excites you the most about what's coming out for React Native for TV?
Okay.
Anisha, we'll start with you.
Yeah, okay. I would definitely say the new compiler. I think, one of the mistakes I see a lot on TV apps is everything being wrapped in a use memo. 10 use effects because, you need to have those side effects because of the fact that you're running things on TV and you have to have different interactions. And with the new compiler, like you won't need as much manual memoization and use callbacks. And I think it will definitely improve how things re-render. And that's going to be really important for TV when, obviously, like when things are re-rendering a lot, it does hurt your performance.
Lukasz.
So the great thing about React Native is that we can bridge the native functionalities hours or days after they are announced and available on native platforms. So for example, Liquid Glass, when Apple announced Liquid Glass on WWDC a few months ago, like I saw experiments with Liquid Glass on React Native the day after on Twitter.
I mean, something that is going to improve a lot in the next years, and is improving already right now, is the developer experience of all this ecosystem of React Native. It makes the developer experience of React Native more mature, so that many companies will understand that it's safe to use. For like it's not like a framework that just some geeks is using, in a part of the world. No, it's like something that you can use it now. It's stable enough. The developer experience is good. You have framework supporting all the needs that you have for a production-ready app, not only for TV, but across different platforms. So that's the most important thing for me is the developer experience. It's mature, and it's going to improve. It's going to improve. Yeah.
I
And
mean,
even all the toolings as well, like the debugging tools. Yeah.
I mean, where else do you see a community with so much innovation happening all the time? And I think the range of devices supported, right? Not just TV, desktop, VR, mobile, web, like you were supporting everything basically. And I think that requires innovation, and there's always so much innovation happening. Things are always getting faster, more performant, better. I think it's inspiring to see.
Yeah, it's an incredibly passionate community.
Yeah.
Super fun to be a part of it.